So, beginning of my turn, decided to move into the river with the Marauders because I knew Matt really wanted to see some more fantastic mystery terrain that GW had come up with.
Well, Jervis wrote the article. Of course, mystery terrain is awesome, right?
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love mystery terrain? I mean, I was hoping for a ghost river.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I rolled a 1, and it ended up being a regular river. Jervis, you asshole.
Yeah, exactly. That's the new catchphrase of the show. By the way, last episode I said he wrote Black Powder. He didn't write Black Powder, but he was involved, and I do love Black Powder, and I love Jervis. So this is all in fun.
So, moved up my knights, wheeled them a bit to set up some favorable flank charges, and brought my disc sorcerer up to start chucking some spells, start roaring at people. Both Chaos Warrior units moved up some, and onto my shooting phase. Hell Cannon targeted the unit of Biggins and managed to get a direct hit, and that killed 10 Biggins, and that was pretty impressive.
It's a pretty huge swing right at the beginning. It's 100 points for one shot.
Yeah, that's pretty nice for a 205-point Hell Cannon. I got back half my points in that opening salvo. No other shooting to mention. Roar was completely worthless this phase. Didn't get any 6s. Targeted the Spider Riders, and that was pretty much it. Magic didn't accomplish much. I think I got 4 casting dice, and I threw them at Pit of Shades, and failed to even make the minimum casting value.
During my turn, Animosity didn't affect anything but my Night Goblins this turn, which was really nice. It was the Goblins with the bows, which really had a pretty useless role at this point anyway, so it wasn't a huge deal. I was very excited. I declared 2 really tasty charges with my 2 Spider Riders. I had my individual hero roll first, and unfortunately he rolled double 2. Triple 2, sorry.
2-2-2.
Triple 2, he moved forward 2 inches, which was very unfortunate because he alone could have taken that unit of 20. And you may be saying to me right now, but Matthew, how can a Goblin Spider Rider take a unit of 20 Marauders who have Steadfast in 3 ranks? Well, they're in a river. They don't have Steadfast. Fuck you.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he
I
has
totally,
to declare a challenge.
I completely forgot about that rule about losing Steadfast in the river, so that was a surprise to me. Luckily, the spider tripped on one of his 8 legs and couldn't get to combat.
Moved 2 inches. My Spider Boys came in, though, and made it in. So I had the 10 of them in, which I still felt was going to be close, but pretty much good enough to do things. For my middle, I just shuffled things around. What I was trying to do is set up some favorable Fanatic charges, which Josh unfortunately was not prepared for, but I'll show you a little more about that in the next turn. I didn't dare move my level 4 because he had already taken a wound. I just left him where he was because he only had a couple spells that I wanted him to cast anyway. My giant moved up, thinking that he might need to flank the Marauders next turn or move towards the Hell Cannon. My Boar Boys luckily got to move. They just shuffled forward. In the close combat, I did pretty well, but that was because in the magic phase, I cast Basham Lads. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Basham Lads. And you got that off Irresistible, I think. You threw maximum power dice at it. So.
Well, I mean, I only had 3 or 4, but I got it off with all my dice. And that gives me rerolls to hit. Always strikes first, and that's huge against your guys who have higher initiative and higher weapon skill.
Yeah, and I had a 5-up armor save and a 5-up ward because of Mark Zench, and I think I had to make 8 saves, and 2, 4, 6, 7. 7 of the 8 wounds got through the 5-up, 5-up, so forgot my armor at home, apparently.
It becomes a 6-up, 5-up, because I'm strength 4.
Strength 4. So, yeah, I saved 1 guy, which was nice.
But, yeah, I was pumping out a lot of attacks, and I won the challenge, which was nice, and I had some poison in there, too. So it was a good combat for me, and you're not steadfast, and you don't get your rank bonus, so it's just based off casualties, and you lost, and I was able to run you down. It was a really good start to this turn.
Yep.
Although I should say, now the sad part of this turn was the fact that my level 4, when he irresistibly cast Basham Lads for, pretty much no effect, I got some rerolls, no big deal. He died. I rolled a 5.
And my Zench guy waved his infernal puppet, and apparently the shaman didn't like what he saw, and he just kind of keeled over dead.
Yeah, the orc chart is very, very unforgiving. Not as bad as the 8th edition, but
when you can modify it by up to 3 points, and it's only what is it, a D6 or is it a 2D6 chart?
It's a 2D6 chart, but I rolled low.
You
I
rolled
a
low,
5.
and I didn't even have to actually roll on my puppet because just dropping it from a 5 to a 4 was bye shaman.
So that was it. I passed the turn.
All right, and let's see. At the beginning of my turn, the knights, being frenzied, had to make a leadership check of 8 to avoid charging into the night goblins and Fanatic death. Unfortunately, I think I rolled a 9, so they decided that they wanted to kill those night goblins.
So let me explain this a little closer. You get within 8 inches, and you're expecting me to release the Fanatic straight towards you and need an 8 to hit you. But I say, hold on, no. What happens here is I release the Fanatics at those 2 points marked with the gray die. I've got one at one corner and one at the other, and I'm releasing them towards the purple die. I'm putting them straight through my unit, and on the left there you see all the casualties I did to myself, which is considerable. I'm 7 night goblins. That's enough for a panic test. I was definitely afraid. I'll give away the secret right now. I didn't panic off, thank God. I put those night goblins out front specifically so that when you end your charge move, you're going to take the D6 for hitting them, and then you take a further D6 for landing on them. So I'm hoping to decimate your knights just based on my Fanatics before you even close into combat.
Yeah, and it's a great plan, and a total of 3d6 strength 5 hits will ruin anybody's day, even Chaos Knights. So we roll up the Fanatic hits, and he does a lot of Fanatic hits, and I think I had to make 9 4+ armor saves, and I had 4 failures. So 4 of the knights popped. I didn't take a champ. I never take the champ because he gets challenged out and it wastes the rest of the unit's attacks. I learned that when I first started playing 7th edition, that the Will of the Gods rule, where I have to challenge, can really bite you in the ass more than anything. So everybody goes away except for my standard bearer with the Banner of Rage. He happily goes in to start mincing up some goblins, though. Let's see. The Disc Sorcerer in my movement phase goes in behind the Fanatics and the rest of the Orc army, looking for some juicy targets. Both of the warrior blocks start moving up, and the Hell Cannon looks for anything to eat. Let's see. Yeah, total of 10 Fanatic hits, leaving me with 4 dead knights. For the magic phase, I rolled up 5 power dice. The winds of magic were fickle. Went for a big Pit of Shades, got it off. It was a lot easier than I realized it was going to be because I'd forgotten already that Matt no longer had a caster, so my level 4 was automatically starting with +4. So I get a big pit off, targeted the center of the big uns, drifted a little bit, but still managed to hit 5 big uns and a bunch of the regular goblins, I think 15 of the nearby night goblins. 5 dead big uns and 8 dead goblins later, I'm having a good Pit of Shades. Matt had moved up his Spider Riders right in front of my Hell Cannon, and I didn't want the Hell Cannon tied up in combat because I like shooting my Hell Cannon, so I targeted them. They were literally 13 inches away, just outside of minimum range for a stone thrower. Got lucky, direct hit, hit all 8 of the Spider Riders, rolled a single 1, so I killed 7. Lookout Sir was successful, so Matt's champion was sitting there after seeing the rest of his guys consumed by Hellfire. In the combat, my knight does a couple of wounds.
1 wound.
Is that what it is?
1 wound.
Does 1 wound, and between ranks and charging and everything else, my soul knight ends up losing combat by 1 point. I promptly make my leadership 7 check, and to the annoyance of Matt, my 1 knight holds up his entire unit of night goblins after going through the Fanatics.
Yeah, I expected it to do a little better because my nets reduce your strength and everything, and still.
And with goblins toughness of 3, but the knights having ensorcelled weapons at 5, even at a -1, I was still wounding on 3s. And the guy was frenzied, so I was chucking a fair amount of attacks for a single model.
Yeah. On my turn, I didn't do much. I just moved forward a little bit, and I moved forward a little bit with my orcs. I moved my spider to the rear of his warrior blocks and moved my giant to the flank of both of his warrior blocks, hoping that they were going to advance on the orcs and bounce and then get charged in. The boar boys, unfortunately, again decided to roll a 1. I held my breath as I rolled it and still came up a 1, which, I'm going to blame Chessex on that one.
Yeah.
And I reformed my Night Goblins, who still had their 1 Fanatic, so that they could face a charge of that level 2 if he decided to come in at them. Because actually, if he comes in at the rear of the Night Goblins, he stands to run them down. My general's dead, so I'm on my base leadership, which is 5.
Poor.
Yeah, and even with steadfast, who cares? If you're steadfast 5, you might as well be nothing. It'd be very easy for him to run them down if you get a rear charge. Other than that, on my turn, I didn't really do anything. I had no casting, obviously. And
During the combat phase for Matt's turn, my single knight keeps throwing his frenzied attacks at the Night Goblins. Manages to kill a couple of them this time, and Matt can't do any wounds back. And I actually end up winning combat by 1. My 1 knight wins combat. Matt fails his leadership check, and my standard bearer runs down the Fanatics, which is awesome because that 1 knight represents 295 victory points. So at this point, I'm thinking that even though he's a killy, just god of chaos, he's probably going to spend the rest of the game running away to conserve those 300 points.
And as I said earlier, leadership 5 steadfast doesn't mean anything. My general was dead, so I didn't have that leadership 8 bubble, which 8 re-rollable is really nice. It's like I think it's an 87% chance of success. Maybe it's a 93. I don't remember, but it's quite high.
It's pretty damn good. It's what the Warriors of Chaos have against all panic tests because of the will of the gods, or the eye of the gods, whichever chart it is. It's amazing how many times you can fail a re-rollable 8, though.
So it's I passed the turn. I didn't really have much to do on my turn.
So at the start of my turn 3, I declare 2 charges on the unit Biggins. My Zench-marked warriors, along with my BSB, charge into the front. And looking for a nice 3-point bonus to combat res, my Zench sorcerer on disc charges them in the rear. At this point, we have some Fanatics get released. And
just 1 this time.
Just 1, but he does roll a 6 on his hits, and I lose 6 guys to the Fanatics.
No.
So I got here 6 Fanatics.
Yeah, I rolled 8. So I release my Fanatic, and I send it right through my Orcs, doing 2 wounds to the Orcs, and it ends right in front of the Chaos Warriors, which means they have to hit it, and then they have to end their movement over it, taking another d6. So I did 2d6 again to them. This time I did 8, and 6 die to it, which was great. The armor piercing really goes the extra mile against Chaos.
Yeah, and each of those wounds cost me an attack from the 2nd rank. And that's really what they're there for. Not combat res, not the rank bonus. I just want those attacks. The disc sorcerer ends up going into the back of the unit, and let's see.